Gregory Keene continues the story as he races back to Sherry Reed's apartment in the Cunningham Towers. It took time and the going's been rough. But at last we've enough on Carlotta and Felix Huberman to pull them down. I set the stage with Stella Wilson. I led her up the garden path to Carlotta Mignani's door, knowing perfectly well they'd get rid of her practically on sight, and the show went according to plan. After Cutts and I had waited for a while, two of the NightShade thugs drove Stella away from the house, and we followed. We intercepted them and had a mild encounter, knocked one of them out, and bundled the other one, Tony Ricco, into our car with Stella. I was going straight back to face Huberman, to tell him we'd watched his men murder Stella and the game was up. But on the way I stopped to phone Sherry Reed. And when she told me the news, I darn near fell out of the box. By the time we get back to the apartment, Inspector Murray should be there. I told Sherry to get hold of him if she had to ring half the phone numbers in the book.
How long have you had this letter, Miss Reed?
No, only a couple of hours, but it was addressed to Keene. I didn't open it till I spoke to him on the phone 20 minutes ago.
It blows the NightShade ring sky high.
What about the two big fish?
Felix Huberman we can arrest at once, on the strength of Barnes' statement about the murder of Evelyn Channel. I don't know if this constitutes evidence. We've had to get something to back it up, but we can definitely arrest the fellow, I can tell you that.
What about Carlotta Mignani?
Have you read this creed right through?
Every comma of it.
You can see she's been as shrewd as a fox. She's kept aloof, and unless Huberman were to give evidence against her, we might be up against it.
But you know she's the mainspring of the entire gang.
What we know and what we can make a jury hang people for are two very different things. Well, the devil's keen. He should be here by now.
Give them time, Inspector. They were right over on the North Shore somewhere.
When he gets here, I'll give the blighter more than time. He fooled me completely.
Well, he told me to pass it all on about Stella Wilson and tonight, I mean.
I'll have to hand it to him. He fooled me and he fooled Stella.
I think Keene's kind of bright myself.
Give me that letter again. I want to have another look at it. Sergeant Elliott, get down to the garage and phone up here the minute Keene and the others arrive.
Felix, how long is it since Tony, Ricco, and Stephen left with the girl?
Oh, about an hour.
Well, then she should be lying in 30 feet of water off Quarantine Point. What an incredibly foolish little creature. When she left here, she actually thought she was going to be driven to Samirais.
I hope we weren't too hasty. We could have probed and questioned her more.
Well, I said it was more than we could hope for, having her walk straight into our hands. In every way, we have done well.
I have.
The Mendel affair was concluded almost before it was begun. The Linden woman is safely hidden at Camp Camaret. You are leaving early tomorrow morning to collect the Barnes letter in Melbourne.
Might I interrupt you, Carlotta? Events of the last few days have forced it more and more upon me.
They have forced what on you?
The recognition of a very unpleasant fact. I've been blinded to it in the past by my affection for you. But I'm finding it extremely hard to get away from now.
I wish I had some faint idea of what you're talking about, Felix.
If something permanent should happen to me, and you were to disband the NightShade ring, you'd be unassailable.
Oh, you've been dwelling on that rubbish set down by Nick Barnes.
Yes, but unfortunately it isn't rubbish. Examine the position closely. Never once, Carlotta, were any orders issued by you.
Well, I figure I should have cut running in and out on Gregerson Street saying, beat this bookmaker, blow that taxi driver to
I'm
pieces.
deadly serious. Suppose something were to bring us all crashing, and I refuse to say a word about you. You'd have only to throw your hands up in horror at the double life led by Felix Huberman. There wouldn't be a thing anyone could do about it.
Very well, what do you suggest? Shall I take space in the newspapers? Shall I buy some time on the air to proclaim that I am the head of the NightShade ring and not Felix Huberman?
Oh, don't be absurd.
It is you who are being absurd. Of course there is nothing against me, and I intend to see that there never is. You are almost immune too, Felix. I think you are being tiresome in the extreme.
In the disposal of Evelyn Channel, I'm not immune. Barnes set it down in the minutest detail. And I'd hate it to fall in the wrong hands.
When Evelyn Chandler was being strangled, you and I, with 6 prominent and respected people, were being photographed at a charity ball.
You hang just as high for being an accessory. And Barnes has made me more than that.
Only when it is taken against the background of our activity against Gregory Keene. And that, of course, no matter how well Nick Barnes described it, is nothing but fiction now.
It wouldn't be fiction if Gregory Keene was alive. If Keene could tell his story on top of Nick Barnes' statement, they could swing me from a gibbet in a
Well,
street.
Gregory Keene is dead and buried. What are you babbling and babbling about?
If Keene was alive, there's still nothing against you, Carlotta. Nothing. He came here one day, but you denied ever seeing him when Murray came here asking questions. That is the sum total of your complicity in the Nightshade ring. And it must have been deliberate on your part from the first moment we came together.
Felix, calm down. You and I are together in everything. We stand or fall together. If by some ghastly mischance we were to come to grief, only your silence could keep me alive. Don't you realize that?
Too well, Carlotta.
Well, then never bring this hateful subject up again. You are my lover. The only real lover I've ever had. Without your feelings, I would not exist. Oh, you are feeling the strain of our narrow escape with Bernard Mendel. And you are letting yourself be poisoned by the vicious and perverted ideas of Nick Barnes.
Am I?
I'm in your hands, Felix. You must see that. In everything we do as the Nightshade ring. I think I should like to be in your hands, literally. A little more often. Come close to me, Phoenix. We have nothing in the world to fear.
Murray, look at this document. Just look at it.
I have.
Can I use it my own way? Can I go out there and stand in front of them with this and with my story about Stella Wilson?
No, you can't. The machinery's in motion, Keene. The assistant commissioner took things out of my hands. We're leaving in half an hour with 3 radio cars to raid Carlotta's house, arrest her, and most certainly arrest Felix Huberman.
But unless I make them crack on the strength of Stella Wilson, you've got nothing on Carlotta Mignani.
Somehow or other, we'll break Felix Huberman. He can implicate her if no one else can. And by morning, we'll have every known Nightshade thug behind bars.
Listen to me, Murray. Who uncovered these people in the first place?
You did, I admit it.
Who the devil built up the entire case against them? I did. But I don't care tuppence for the Nightshade gang as such. They're only incidental, and you can round them up in your own good time. But I want to know what they did with Bruno Kesselring. And if you pull them in before I've had my crack, I'm never going to find out.
That's too bad. But the Stella Wilson affair doesn't look too good from any angle. And as I said, it's out of my hands.
Look, let me shove off now and have that half hour with them.
I've orders about that too, Keene. You either stay here or you come with me.
Well, of all the fat-headed, impossible attitudes to take, Look here, I'm going, Murray. I'm under no one's orders around here.
You're under mine for tonight. I'm to keep you under restraint by force if necessary, and it's no good looking around for Tom Cutts.
I could make an issue of it.
Oh, have some sense, old chap. We're officers of police.
You come over to the bar while I pour you and Cutts a drink.
Sherry, I don't want a drink.
Rubbish, of course you do. What's it going to be, scotch?
Oh, make it anything you like.
Right, scotch. You've only half an hour to go, so pull yourself together and be nice to Inspector Murray.
You couldn't include me at the bar, could you, Miss Reed? I want to get over to the North Shore as much as he does. But it's still a pleasure to see there's one person in this apartment whose mind is not completely unhinged.
Well, it's getting on, Carlotta. I'd better be getting back to town, I think.
Felix, darling.
Mm-hmm.
Are you sorry you shouted your head off at me?
Soon I'll have to make a break for a month or two. The strain of keeping my end up, it's beginning to tell. Security 1 minute, things like Mendel the next. And...
Wait there, Felix. Yes?
I want to speak to Felix Huberman.
Who is it, please?
Is Felix Huberman there? I wish to speak to him only.
Just hold on 1 moment. Felix, it is the man who was ringing here for you before.
Right. Let's have it. Hello, this is Felix Huberman speaking. Who are you?
I can't give you my name, but I can tell you this. I'm a doctor who was called to Miss Sherry Reed's apartment The night of the shooting on the Hawkesbury River.
Yes?
The whole thing was a fraud. The police know nothing about it. But it was all a colossal fraud.
What are you saying, man? You can't possibly know what you're saying.
I know only too well what I'm saying, and you can stake your life it's correct.
And what did they want a doctor for? Go on, tell me quickly. What did they want you at the apartment for?
A man named Tom Cutts was wounded, but you didn't kill anyone that night. Can you hear me, Huberman? You didn't kill anyone that night at all.
Well? What is it? What is it, Felix?
Gregory Keene. He's alive.
I can't go against them. Murray is right, so I can only press on with him when we make our raid. Half the battle's over, and Nightshade Ring is ended. With Huberman and Carlotta under arrest, the ring ceases to exist. But up here in Sherry's apartment, the minutes are ticking by no faster for that. It's the 11th hour, and I can't wait. I want Huberman to be at that house when we arrive.
What steps does Huberman take now? Listen for the next chapter in this story of intrigue. Deadly Nightshade.